Alright, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome to Collectors Gone Digital. My name is Josh, and on today's episode, we are going to be covering our first ever breakdown on VeVe stamps. Now, I did have a little bit of a complication with my surgery yesterday. It was just the dentist, but I was getting some work done on a tooth, and in the middle of the procedure, the dentist ended up slipping with one of the tools, and one thing led to another. Got a little cut, and the result of that was some gauze and a lot of needles to numb the pain. So I am talking a little different right now. Bear with me for the next couple episodes, guys, but I wanted to get this one out sooner than later. I do promise 2 episodes a week, so I wanted to still make that happen. Before we start the episode, I do want to give a big shout out to Big Oz. He did actually give me the topic for this episode, as well as a lot of the information. I did verify it and then added some other stuff on top, but this video is also going to be brought to you by him. So we're going to discuss some facts about stamp collecting. We're also going to discuss the publishers a little bit, so USPS and New Zealand Post, and then we're also going to cover the specific collections offered on the platform. So with that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alright, so kicking things off, let's start with some facts. We all like some facts. For anyone who is perhaps newer to the community, Mr. David Yu, CEO of VeVe, this is actually how he got involved in collecting. So stamps are going to be among the top 3 most popular collectible types in the world in terms of the number of collectors and the number of collections available. Stamps are also going to fall into the top 5 most valuable collectible types. In fact, one of the 10 most expensive collectibles ever sold to date was actually a postage stamp. I actually think it's one that's on VeVe. I'll toss it on screen now so you guys know. And then in terms of earning MCP points, Big Oz does make the point about how these are some of the cheapest sets to earn those points. And I would completely agree, so I tossed it in this slide. A couple different reasons. They're lower in price, so they're easier to complete the set. They have all kinds of rarities, and because they are lower in price, you can acquire the ultra rares and the secret rares and things like that easier. But in my personal opinion, these are some of my favorite things to collect on VeVe. So moving over to the 2 publishers that we have on VeVe, that's going to be USPS and New Zealand Post. Right now we have over 300 stamps that are currently on the platform. Roughly 21,000 of those stamps are going to be from New Zealand Post. The remaining 280,000 are going to be from USPS. Now in terms of New Zealand Post, they were actually one of the first countries to put animals on their stamps, okay? And in terms of USPS, they're globally known, of course. But USPS stamps are also very popular among Asian collectors. And so, let's talk a little bit about the Asian market. So this has been discussed in the past, but a little refresher for you. There are now estimated to be roughly 20 million stamp collectors in China alone, representing roughly 1/3 of the total number of collectors in the world. Now 20 million, when you think of China's population, a relatively small number, right? But I focus more so on the 1/3 of the total collectors worldwide. Big Oz also adds that Asia has over 950 billionaires and over 30 million millionaires. So he says, imagine if you have $1 billion, but you still can't complete a full set on VeVe. Now, I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, because I look at this almost the same way as saying, like, oh, there's 950 billionaires, so assuming that 100% of them are interested in VeVe or even aware of VeVe and then interested in the stamps is very unrealistic. The reason why I wanted to include it on the slide is because what I think it does is it puts it into perspective just how scarce these sets are, if that makes sense. Now, in terms of the Asian market, the first collection that I want to talk about that relates to the East the most is going to be the Lunar New Year stamps. I have 3 on screen. There's actually going to be 4 on the app. We also have the Year of the Rabbit. But their description reads as follows. Lunar New Year is one of the most important holidays of the year for many Asian communities around the world. It's primarily celebrated by people of Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, Tibetan, Mongolian, Malaysian, and Filipino heritage. Across these varied cultures, many traditions exist for ringing in a new year of good luck and prosperity, calling to mind the elaborately decorated mask used in the dragon dance, often performed in Lunar New Year parades. Now, I don't know about you guys, well, I mean, they even say it in this description, there's 12 of them. So I do expect all 12. Right now we have 4 of the 12. I'm not expecting any more this year, but I do definitely expect more next year. So moving on, let's talk about the US market. So first up, and we'll go through all these in a sec, we have the Classics Forever collection, which was the first presidential stamp collection on VeVe. We're also going to have the Presidential White House Series, okay, which is the most popular presidential stamp collection in the real world. And then we have the Take Me to the Ball Game stamp, which was the first sports stamp on VeVe, and it also includes that timeless sports tune. I think probably everybody has heard that one. So in terms of the Classics Forever collection, the US Postal Service issues these souvenir sheets as an NFT. The elaborately designed sheet features handsome new versions of 6 stamps, first issued in the mid-19th century. Feel free to pause your screen and read the rest if you guys want. It's just talking about the specifics for the rest of the stamps. But moving on, the Presidential Stamp Series was issued back in 1938, and the legendary series perfectly captures the essence of former US presidents and other notable individuals in American history. And they're affectionately known as Prexies, or the 5th Bureau issue. So sticking with the US market, this is going to be the Presidential Stamp Series 3 that's going to be dropping on the app, I think it already dropped. Yes, it already dropped. So the series is not sold out, and in the series, it is the next set of former US presidents. So you have Franklin Pierce, you got James Buchanan, you got Abraham Lincoln, Andrew Johnson, B. Hayes, Rutherford B. Hayes, S. Grant, and A. Garfield. So another easy set to grab some MCP points. There's going to be 7 in the set to complete it. And last set we'll discuss for the US market here is going to be the Spooky Silhouettes. So we just had this one drop back in October, and I believe they're actually the first animated stamps on the platform. So as autumn approaches, these stamps offer fun and frightful scenes that symbolize this annual celebration. Now moving over to the New Zealand market, their first official postal service was established back in 1840. They're also going to be known for something called Kiwi stamps, featuring their iconic native bird, and these stamps are going to be popular both locally and internationally. And New Zealand has also become known for their innovative designs. So they've actually released stamps with features such as holograms, scents, and even the world's first color-changing stamp. The first New Zealand collection is going to be the 1898 Pictorials. So the description says that New Zealand was one of the first countries in the world to put pictures of their countryside, birds, and animals on its stamps, which we mentioned before. So these stamps became known as Pictorials, and the first ones were issued back on April 5th, 1898, and they were selected from around 2,400 that had been entered into a public competition. So there are going to be 7 in this particular set. You got Mount Cook, Lake Taupo, Pembroke Peak, Milford Sound, White Terraces, Pink Terraces, and Lake Wakatipu. Now moving on, we do actually have our second set of pictorials dropping on the platform in the coming days. So aside from all the other stuff we already mentioned, these particular stamps represented a departure from the almost universal use of portrait designs of monarchs or presidents. So the stamps were all engraved. So their first issue was actually printed by Waterlow and Sons in England, and then later supplied and printed in New Zealand from new plates. At the time of issue, New Zealand used British currency, and the original face values of the stamps range from half a penny to 2 shillings. This was a point we just mentioned in our Fun Fact series, Part 7. Moving on to Latin America, we got Day of the Dead, which, for those who don't know, was the first stamp collection on the platform. I remember back in the day when those stamps were hundreds of gems. And then we're also going to have the Mariachi series, which were the first stamps to have sound. And I believe there's 6 in the set. All 6 have their own soundtrack. In terms of worldwide stamp collections, we got the Earth Day series, all the Christmas stamps. We have the 50th anniversary of civil rights law for women. And then we also have the Support Women War Effort, which was the single stamp set, similar to the baseball stamp. So when it comes to Day of the Dead, for anyone not familiar with the tradition, the stamp art features several iconic elements of a traditional Day of the Dead ofrenda, or offering, which honors departed relatives as well as heroes. For anyone who hasn't seen Disney's Coco movie, highly recommend it. It's a great tribute to the tradition. Moving on, Mariachi celebrates the unique traditional music of Mexico that has become deeply rooted in the United States. So each of the 5 new stamps, 5, sorry, not 6, features a musician dressed in a traditional outfit of a mariachi performer, playing one of 5 iconic mariachi instruments. You have a guitar, something, a violin, and a trumpet. The geometric shapes in the background of each stamp are a nod to Mexican villages, which is where mariachi music originated. Moving on, in terms of the Women Support the War effort, this was a very big symbolic movement back in the day. So originally part of the 1999 Celebrate the Century series, the Women Support the War effort stamp celebrates women from the 1940s. While millions of men joined the armed forces in World War II, millions of women took over their jobs and made up for roughly 1/3 of the workforce. We then have the Earth Day series, which on April 22nd of 1970, America celebrated the first National Earth Day. So all over the country, millions of people, young and old, going together to rally against pollution. Since then, millions of my jaw keeps like locking up. I can't stretch it. Since then, millions of Americans mark the anniversary by celebrating the importance of protecting the environment as part of an annual tradition. It's also a time when businesses showcase new environmental goods and services. It remains an important day for Americans and people around the world to recognize the importance of the planet. So the stamp was originally released back in 2020 to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. And the stamp that was chosen is the one you see on screen. And last but not least, I don't actually have the Christmas stamps on here, now that I think about it, but we have the title stamp collection. So the commemorative stamp program issues stamps that honor events, persons, or themes. The first stamps were issued by the Post Office Department in 1893, and to this date, more than 3,000 commemorative stamps have been issued to celebrate America's national history, from animals to planets, people to places, and anniversaries to events. The Citizen Stamp Advisory Committee was established in 1957, and its members use their collective expertise in history, science, technology, art, education, sports, and other areas of public interest to consider and then recommend stamp subjects to the Postmaster General for final approval, just in case any of you guys care about that. So ladies and gents, that is going to conclude today's episode. I must admit, unfortunately, I didn't get through all the information I would have liked to, and that's just because my jaw is starting to act up again. So if you guys did enjoy the topic, I'd be happy to put together the rest of it for a part 2. But aside from that, that was some fun facts about stamps, some info about the publishers on VeVe, USPS, and New Zealand Post, and then we covered all the stamp collections, I think aside from the Christmas ones. So if you enjoyed the content, make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you want to see in a future episode. And as for our next, I'll catch you then.